These boys are tall.
Yes, they are.
Yes. Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning, friends on Zoom. It's very good to be here with you this morning. How's everybody doing? Good, good. The sun is not making an appearance right now, but it's still a beautiful day, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes, it's not snowing. Yay! Yay! Before I get started on the talk, I just want to say something. Susie Hulcher is a dear friend of mine. And she was the music director at Unity of Fort Myers for many, many years. And that song, Allowing, is one of my absolute favorites of anybody, not just of Susie's. And so thank you for that. I think Sky knew that. And the whole idea of allowing. There's a line in there, and I want you to remember this line because it's going to pertain to what I'm talking about. And that is allowing change to show, right? So when we go through a change, we actually allow people to see it, right? We don't keep it hidden. We don't have a change of heart and then pretend we didn't, right? So just keep that in the back of your mind. She's a dear friend, very talented. She left for a little while. I think she is now back doing some stuff with Unity of Fort Myers. I don't think she's a music director, but she's doing some things. And I'm going to reach out to her this afternoon because I haven't talked to her in a while. So thanks for letting me go off on that little tangent. I was crying. It was just a nice memory. So. Okay, so where are we? We are at the fourth Sunday of Lent, right? So in Unity, we don't do these specific things all the time. Some Unity churches follow a very specific schedule and they, reflect upon every single Sunday in Lent. Some do, some don't. It doesn't matter one way or the other. There's no right or wrong way to do a Sunday morning talk or a topic, right? But this is the fourth Sunday of Lent. And for any of us who are kind of following that idea, I've been doing some reflecting, right? The booklet that came out from Unity called Release and Reimagine is a great booklet. If you haven't gotten it, get a copy somehow. See Jen and see if you can get one because it talks about a lot of these things that we can get rid of to make room for other things, right? And so this week in that booklet, it talks about releasing scarcity and reimagining abundance. It's your mindset, right? Releasing indecision and reimagining clarity. What do you desire? And then releasing self-pity and moving into acceptance, right? And we reframe with our power of imagination. We reframe everything we've been thinking, we reflect upon it, we wonder about it, we think about it, and then we see how we can reframe it. Before I move into some of the ideas I came up with, I want to give you a couple of quotes, because I like to do that, right? Mitch Albom, author, said, "The only time we waste is the time we spend thinking we are alone." Right? I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure there's at least a few people here that can relate to this statement. There are many times when I can feel alone in a room full of people. There are many times when I have experienced that. I know it's hard to believe, as bubbly as I am. But it's the truth. It is the truth. There are some times when I just feel so uncomfortable in my own skin even. And I walk in and I think everybody's talking about me. They don't even know I'm there, right? But though I've had those moments, and I'm sure that other people have had that too, right? So the only time we waste is the time we spend thinking we are alone. If nothing else, we remember that Unity teaches us that there is only oneness, which means we're never really alone, right? Oneness when I think about somebody and all of a sudden there they are. They call me, they reach out, I run into them, and I hadn't seen them in a while, those kinds of things. You've had those experiences, right? Yeah. I don't think it's random. I don't think it's just coincidence. I think there's more to it than that. Okay, this is from Debbie McComber. She actually wrote the movie, or helped to write the movie Mrs. Miracle. And this is great. It's all right to sit on your pity pot every now and again. Just be sure to flush when you are finished. There you go. Okay. I don't even need to explain that one. You get that one. Okay. Sharon Salzberg said, she's a mindfulness teacher, and she said, you yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Anybody else here have trouble giving yourself love and affection? I do. I struggle with that all the time. I'm really good at giving you love and affection. I'm really good at giving you the benefit of the doubt. I'm really good at being supportive, compassionate, empathetic, all of that stuff for you. For me, not so much. For me, I focus on the mistakes I've made, the silly moves I've made. Why did I do that? And beating myself up is an art that I have perfected at times. I am much better at not doing it as often as I used to, right? But there's still room for a lot of improvement. It's just we're usually our worst critics. Even if it doesn't appear that way. We're often our worst critics, but maybe we do it behind closed doors. Maybe to the outside world, we appear to be very confident and know what we're doing and so on. Maybe there are some people, let's say in Washington, D.C., who are really good at coming across as if they think they know it all. And maybe behind closed doors, they're not so confident. Maybe behind closed doors, they're so afraid that they come out even more brutal than is necessary. That's why it's so important for us to continue this theme that I have going of reflect and transform, to think about these things. What if that's the case with some of the people that we don't like? Doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on, right? If I don't agree with somebody, maybe there's more to the story, right? Just think about it. And finally, Marilyn Monroe, actress, married to Joe DiMaggio for a short time. Some of you who are younger aren't going to know who I'm talking about. But anyway, wanting to be someone else is a waste of the person you are. And I think all of these quotes kind of fit in with self-pity and self-acceptance, right? Now, keep in mind, when I say acceptance doesn't mean approval, okay? So when I am accepting any sort of situation or condition, I'm not necessarily approving of that situation. I'm just accepting this is the fact right here, right now, in this moment. And now what am I going to do? And I think you can take that and move it into self-acceptance as well. I don't necessarily approve of all of the behaviors that I demonstrated when I was younger. But that doesn't mean that I have to throw myself out and just write myself off for the rest of my life either. Right? So I think that this moving from self-pity, there are some people, and I was one of them, I got very wrapped up in my stories. Anybody else know of anybody who gets wrapped up in their stories? Right? This happened to me, and then that happened to me, and if I tell enough people, they'll feel sorry for me, and if they feel sorry for me, they'll like me. I don't know where that came from, but that's what I thought. Right? And I would beat the stories to death. It was awful. It was awful. And I just kept telling them, and I would embellish, and I would, make it worse than it was sometimes. Right? But we all do this. We all have stories. about what has happened to us in the past, what's going to happen to us in the future, what might happen in this moment, all of these things. We build up these stories. And so the great news is that we have now an opportunity to reframe those stories. To reframe them, I'll give you a good example. You've heard this story before. When I was 7 years old, I took a test. I got a 93. It was the highest score in the class. The second highest score was 72. Okay? It tells you what the test was like. It was in Catholic school. I'm in second grade. I'm a little kid. I'm 7 years old. I got a 93. The second smartest person in the class got a 72, and I'm thinking, wow, I did great. And it was a religion class, so I'm thinking even more of myself, right? God loves me more, right? Yay. And I got home, and my mother said, where are the other... I'm sorry, I got a 96. Where are the other 4 points? You knew the answer to this question. I was devastated. And I carried that story with me for 40 years, 30, 40 years, something like that. It was decades, let me just say that. Carried that story with me over and over and over again. And I started to think about this whole idea of reframing and reflecting back and looking at things. And you know what? All she was doing was commenting on the fact that she and I had studied together the night before the test. And that exact question had been one of the questions she gave me, and I knew the answer that day. So I forgot it the next day, and she was simply saying, you knew that. I made it mean, you're not enough, Kathleen. You're never going to be enough, Kathleen. And that's what it turned into. Sorry, Mom. She didn't mean to do that. She wasn't trying to tell me I wasn't enough. She never used those words. And I will even say this, even if she meant that I wasn't good enough, she didn't say that, and I don't have to believe that. She was simply saying, you knew the answer to this question yesterday. What happened? Right? So that reframing can be done by anybody. We can look at things and we can take them as lessons instead of bad things that happen to us. And we can start to change our mindset to be able to move out of self-pity into self-acceptance. Because I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling good about myself, I do better out there. I show up better. I show up as a better person. I show up as a really good listener, right? When I'm not in a good headspace, I'm not a good listener. I talk over people, right? I forget that they might have something to say, right? We've all been known to do that from time to time, right? But when I'm feeling better about myself, I go out there and I show up differently, and I can make a difference. And the same is true for any one of us, because we're all the same, right? We're all connected. We all have the same abilities. We all have the same 12 powers, right? There is what I refer to as the negative projector in my mind. Do you remember old-time movies that used to be on movie reels, and you had to feed the film into the projector, and then it would turn, and right? And then when it came to the end, it would flap around until you stopped, right? So I often think about having that negative projector in my mind. I am never the one that says, oh, what if I win the lottery tonight? I'm about, what if we have a blizzard tomorrow? I'm the one that, what if I get into an accident? And how am I going to pay for this? And what am I going to do? And what if this happens? And what if that happens? The negative projection of anything and everything, right? We can get rid of that. When we notice it, we can get rid of that. And then we can move into that self-acceptance. I am doing the absolute best that I can do today. You are doing the absolute best that you can do today with the information you have in this moment, right? When you get more information, you do different things. Maya Angelou said that a lot. She said, we do the best we can, and then we learn more, and then we do better, right? That's not an exact quote, by the way, but it's the general gist of it. We identify the sad story that we're telling, or we identify the issue at hand and observe objectively. These points are in that Lenten booklet, right? So we identify and then we observe. And after we observe, then we can start to make changes. So for instance, going back to the story that I shared with you about not being enough, I can look at that and I can go, wow, I feel like I'm never going to be good enough for somebody, anybody, right? Maybe I am good enough. And even if I don't believe that, if I continue to tell myself, maybe I'm good enough, it starts to seep in, whether I like it or not. And then I start to, well, what if? What if this is really true? And it becomes, I am enough. I'm very clear with you here today. I am enough. I know that. In moments of doubt, I still will stick with, what if you're enough, Kathleen? What if this is enough? You're doing the best you can in this moment, kind of thing. I'm able to talk myself through it a lot faster. But it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I want you to know that. It does not matter that I am a reverend standing up here in front of you. I'm a unity minister, yes. It just means that I spent a lot of years going to classes, right? I got a certification, and that's wonderful, and I appreciate it, and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do it. But we're all on the same playing field. We really are. So we can all do this. I like to search through the Daily Word archives. If you have a subscription to Daily Word, you can go through and go into the archives and you can search for different topics. So I found one from August 27th of 2003 that has this phrase, by being forgiving, I'm choosing self-empowerment over self-righteousness. I'm choosing a closer relationship with the divine over being closer to my own self-pity. I wanted to hold on to the self-pity. I really did. It doesn't work for me anymore. I thought it used to serve a purpose, but it really didn't. And I didn't know how to get out of it. Somehow I found a way. August 11th, 1951. A person subject to self-pity is not aware of the powers that lie within. They do not have the true thought about themselves. I changed the language a little bit because in 1951 they said him and him a lot. So I changed that a little bit. Every life has a spiritual purpose and every person is a spiritual being. I'm going to send you out into the world today with this question that you need to take home with you. And that is this. Do you believe you are a spiritual being? Yes. If you believe you are a spiritual being, how are you demonstrating that? And if you are demonstrating it, can you demonstrate more? Let's all do that this week and see what happens. No, wait, I have a better idea because I'm back in April, right? The third Sunday in April. So you're going to do it for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, whatever it is. Let's do it. And then we'll come back and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit. But this is a big one. If I really believe that I am a spiritual being, because I honestly do not feel like I am 24/7. I know I am, but I don't feel like I am 24/7. So let's take this, we'll let it percolate for 4 or 5 weeks, whatever the Sunday is, and we'll come back and then we'll reconvene. Does that sound like a good idea? Yes. I think that's good. final statement I want to end with is October 23rd of 1962. One of the first statements in that daily word says, "I refuse to make myself a prisoner of limited thinking." And so it is. Amen. Let's take some of this into meditation. I invite you now to get comfortable wherever you're seated, and just take a couple of deep breaths. If you are comfortable doing so, you can close your eyes. We will be turning off the lights here. And for our friends on Zoom, just relax into this present moment. Take a deep breath. Feel your body relaxing with each breath. May the words that I speak now be the words of your own heart. Today I trust in the divine. I know I am not alone. I know that I am provided with all of the resources necessary to overcome any challenge that comes my way. I am willing to see the highest vision and the greatest good in everything that occurs today. I am one with the infinite source of health, harmony, well-being, and wealth. My heart and my mind are open to receiving all that the divine has for me. I am abundance in expression. I am clarity in expression. I am acceptance in expression. Everyone who meets me feels this. They feel the high vibration when they meet me. They pick up on the highest energy. I am a spiritual being. I have a spiritual purpose. I am no longer a prisoner of limited thinking. I express the divine, and I release the spiritual powers for all to see. Take these thoughts into the silence. I am the power of life in expression. I am vibrantly alive. And I am grateful. And so it is. Amen. Before you open your eyes, take a moment to simply breathe deeply. Bring yourself back to this place and to this time. When you are ready, you may open your eyes. Welcome back, friends.